My name is Benton Stokes. I'm a former fundamentalist, post-evangelical worship leader, and songwriter. I enjoy wry Manhattans, roller coasters, and road trips, just not all at the same time.
I'm Elane O'Rourke, and I'm a teacher, an author, and a spiritual coach. I was a philosophy professor and a liberal pastor in a couple of former lives, and these days, I love aha moments and not-so-dry martinis.
We have conversations about life and God with a queer perspective, over cocktails, like you. This is Cocktail Theology. Well, today's cocktail is one that's been around for quite a long time, but I don't think I've ever had one.
Okay. I have, but it's been a very long time.
Let's try it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a yummy thing.
Oh, that's good.
So tell the people what it's called and what's in it.
This is a Man o' War. And a Man o' War is a bourbon-based cocktail.
Yes.
It also has sweet vermouth, lemon juice, and it has triple sec. And it is yummy. The recipe called for like 1/12 of an ounce of simple syrup. I'm like, why?
Why?
Why even bother?
That's like an absinthe wash.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is just silly.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, it's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'm sure it's the lemon, but something about it's reminding me of a sidecar a tiny bit.
It definitely has that sidecar thing going on.
Love a sidecar.
Yes, you do love a sidecar. But the vermouth changes the character of it.
It does. Yeah.
Quite a lot.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Really refreshing for a late summer cocktail.
It is a late summer. It is not yet fall.
It is not.
And so that probably makes you happy.
It does. We hang on to summer as long as possible.
As long as we can. We like summer. We like that part of the seasons of the year in the world.
Yes, for sure.
And so we're talking about being in the world.
And of the world.
Okay.
So really the question is, how in the world can you be before you are of the world? Mm-hmm. I will tell you that, I grew up a pretty straight-laced kid.
What? I
did. I know it's shocking. And, drinking a cocktail is not something I would have done. Even in my 20s, I would have done that. Didn't really drink much in my 30s either.
And then you met me, and I'm so sorry.
No, it started before I met you. But I remember when I was just a babe in Christian music, and I was just kind of starting to find my way around. And I, at that point, was in my early 20s. When I would be in these song pitch meetings and people would say swear words. And I was appalled. I was just aghast.
You still swear very little.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty true. But back then I was really averse to swears. And I just remember being just so like, wow, there's this whole ugly underside to Christian music that I didn't know. Of course, there's much uglier undersides to Christian music than that, but that was the one that first caught my attention. I was like, oh,
I'm sorry. I love that was your first disappointment.
It was a disappointment. That was one of those things where I'm like, these guys are pretty in the world, and particularly as a teen and a young adult, I guess, really strove to separate myself while not condemning others for drinking or swearing or whatever, but being different, staying back. And I'd had people like, I went to a Christian college for the first 2 years, laid out for a year. That's another story. Ended up back at a state school. And I really enjoyed my experience at the state school. And I had friends that I had made through the Wesley Foundation, which is it's an organization, used to be based out of the Methodist Church. I don't know if it still is. They would do things like movie nights where we would watch movies like The Mission and we'd talk about it. We'd have pizza, stuff like that. And I really liked my friends at the Wesley, and I made friends that were Catholic and Jewish and other faiths, and we had a great time. And so I had some of them, say, you really live the way you talk, like your life and your words match. And so that was something that I really kind of took a little pride in, I think.
Of course.
And it was something that I took very seriously.
Yes.
And so when I started running into Christians, particularly Christians who were professional Christians,
yes,
and they weren't acting in a way that I thought was separate enough, I took note of that.
Right.
And I was like, wow, we're supposed to be separate.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All the things, just all the things, all the things.
Yeah.
So I want to hear more about this because I think this is wonderful. And I think a lot of our folks would really resonate with what you're saying. But I want to distinguish between in the world, of the world, and separate.
Yeah, please.
Because they're different concepts.
Yeah.
Okay. So to be in the world is to live in the world. It's to engage with the world, the material world, the daily life of people, including yourself. That's all in the world mean. That's all it means. But it has a concept of engagement.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is important.
Yeah.
Of the world means that you are attached to the material, attached to the conceits, attached to those things, and you align your spirit and your behavior with the world in that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Separate, though, is neither one of those things.
Okay, yeah.
Because you can be separated from the world, you can be a hermit and completely attached to the world. In fact, most of the people who separate themselves are attached. That's why they have to separate themselves.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, and I'm not talking about people who have made a lifelong vocation choice, but if I go in desperation to a monastery for a week, it's because I am feeling too attached to the world.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That's the reason. Now, the question is, does one detach just because one isn't engaging? Right?
Yeah.
So to kind of frame it in terms of something that people discuss more, right? There's this idea that if a man is alone with a woman who is not his wife, the door should be open and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Now, the goal of this in that context is not that the man won't hurt the woman. The goal is that way he's not tempted by her temptation-ness.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Which suggests that men are always of the world. Always.
Okay.
You see the problem?
Yeah.
So separation and of and in they're different kinds of concepts.
Okay.
So I just needed to lift that up,
okay.
Right? So I think what you were trying to do at that point was not separate. You weren't trying to be separate, but you were trying to keep detached from the draw of the material, of the concrete, of the non-Christian, of the whatever, fill in your blank here. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, okay. I would say that sounds right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because as we all know, just because you don't do something doesn't mean you don't think about it.
Oh, sure. Right.
And that's one of the challenges, right? Is that particularly in conservative circles, although you get it in liberal circles, just not so much with churchy stuff, particularly in conservative circles, there's this idea that as long as you don't do it, you're okay.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not sitting in your basement for 12 hours at a time watching porn, then you're really fine.
Right. But then, as we know, many of the people that aren't watching porn are still thinking about watching porn or thinking about porn or thinking about
or want power or whatever the things
whatever
are.
it is. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't believe our current president spends 12 hours a day watching porn. I don't think he's that person. But do I think that he has the sins of conquer, the sins of desire, the sins of course.
Yeah.
Clearly, right? So that's the thing.
Gotcha. Right. And then I think too, like with the upbringing that I had, so much emphasis was placed on don't do these things.
Exactly.
There was a great deal of value placed on the fact if you didn't use swear words, if you didn't watch porn, if you didn't, those things were markers of how spiritual you are or how close to Jesus you were.
Right.
Even though those are still things that as a kid, of course, I'd struggled with.
Right.
And so it almost negates the struggle.
Yes.
Because all that really matters is that you didn't do it. You didn't act on the temptation.
That's right. That's right. And so people who are more concerned about the construction and formation of your character would say, yeah, refraining from acting on something is one thing, but you could do that by locking yourself in a basement.
Right.
Does that solve the problem? No. Right. We talked earlier in this season about the difference between niceness and kindness.
Yep.
Niceness is simply the not doing of the thing or the
Right.
doing of the thing. It has nothing to do with your character.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
Right.
And one of the challenges with doing something like saying, if I don't drink, then I am fine, or whatever the thing, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Is it assumes that if you refrain or do, then that all in itself takes care of the character problem.
Right.
Which it doesn't. It just doesn't.
No.
The kinds of spiritual disciplines we choose absolutely affect our character. But they have to be the right ones, and they can't just be based on whether you do this or not.
Right.
Right? It just doesn't work like that. Right?
Right.
Okay. So let's set aside that stuff for a minute.
Okay.
So what is the difference for you between being in the world and of the world now? What would you think is the difference? And where do you think, if there's a continuum between perfectly in but not of, and hopelessly of and maybe not in, you could be not in and still be totally of.
Sure.
Where would you say you are today? Just today.
I think for me, at this point, being of the world, or at least excessively of the world, means having these attachments to things like how much money I make, needing, the right, fill in the blank, clothes, car, person, whatever. I think it's a dependency on either approval from the people around me. Of course, that's kind of a loaded word, because I want the respect of people, but that's not the same as approval.
Okay.
You know, sometimes people will do things for the approval of other people that aren't necessarily ethically or morally what they would do otherwise. But anyway, taking that aside.
Well, don't set that one too far aside. I think that's an important one. So go ahead.
Okay. I think that, for instance, I can drink. At one point in my life, for a long time, I would have thought that is a very worldly thing to do. I don't really feel that way anymore, because I know what consuming alcohol means for me. And I know that if it comes to a point where I don't like what's happening while I'm consuming alcohol, or the reasons why I'm consuming alcohol, I see it and I stop. And I understand some people can't put on those brakes. I get that. But for me, drinking alcohol in and of itself is not a worldly problem. Now, my mother would say otherwise.
Right.
But that's because that's her value system, and that's the way she sees alcohol. Right. Right. It is very much in the sin category. Just consuming it.
I'm parsing that. I'm parsing what you just said. I think that's a really useful thing. So let's stay with your mom for a minute. Hi, Mrs. Stokes. Used a word that I think is important in this, but is also one of those we might need to look at. Use the word sin. I think biblically, sin isn't always about being of the world.
Oh, I don't either.
But that's important.
Right.
So she could, I'm not saying that she does, but she could see drinking alcohol as a sin, but not think it is proof that you're of the world. Right?
That's true.
So, for example, let's go to the extreme. Let's say you're an alcoholic. And drinking alcohol is your particular addiction. And you separate yourself from the world and you pray all the time and whatever, but you're an alcoholic. Even if one saw your taking a drink as a sin, it wouldn't necessarily be an expression of your being of the world, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that's true.
So sin isn't even necessarily the thing.
Yeah, when I think of the world, I think of things that are charming about...
Ooh, that's a good word.
...our secular existence. Things that are not explicitly of God, right?
Right.
Which there are plenty of things that can be of God and also of the world. I mean, it's just like, it's not a very black and white. There's a huge gray area there where, there are things that people experience as spiritual and other people experience as worldly.
Right.
But
100%.
so much of that just comes down to our own spirits and how we experience what's going on. And so I have come to understand and experience that the worldliness of something really does depend on my own state of mind, my own state of spirit, and how I'm experiencing it in a moment.
Yes.
So it's not, there aren't a lot of hard lines in that for me.
And that's what's really important. And that's where we get that line in the Bible wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the challenges of reading anything in the New Testament is they weren't talking about law. They were talking about character formation.
Right.
And whether you're in the world or of the world has very little to do with any particular activity. It has to do with your relationship with God and the world.
Yeah.
And no one can discover that except you.
Right. Because when you look at the life of Jesus, as he was observed by the high priests, Pharisees, Sadducees, the pious, they would have said he was of the world because he was spending time with people that were of the world, tax collectors, people who had reputations for being sexually impure, and he liked to party.
Okay.
He did.
Yeah.
So I can see where there would be like these pious, churchy people over here kind of judging him and saying, well, this is a little,
This is worldly, right?
Because he's not staying separate. He's not taking himself out of these situations. In fact, he is pulling these people to him.
He was criticized all the time for things like his disciples not washing their hands before they eat, right?
Exactly.
Which would make them worldly.
Right. Right.
Of the world, of that surrounding world. That's a really good example. And then do we think Jesus was of the world and not just in the world? I mean, if so, then we just need to find another savior because that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, no, of course he wasn't of the world. And yet some of the things that he did, there are people even today that would say
exactly
that is a worldly activity.
Exactly. So particular activities do not necessarily prove that one is of the world rather than just in the world.
Yep.
Now let me think about this. I started to say something like, if you buy an $8,000 purse, can you do that and not be of the world? This goes back to our conversation about pastors and tennis shoes, right?
Yeah, preachers and speakers.
I'm not sure. I don't know what my limit is on when that line is crossed and that can be judged by behavior. But I would say that if I summarily condemned somebody for being of the world because they spent a lot of money on something I consider ridiculous, that the first person I should be looking at is myself. Because my attachment to that concern suggests I am of the world.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm worried about what somebody else is doing and whether they're in the world or of the world, whether they're being pious or not, then I am clearly way more attached to the world than they are.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That whole idea of I feel that it is incumbent upon me, or it is my instinct to condemn, says I am way more attached to the world.
Wow.
Way more attached to the world. Because as soon as I am experiencing any kind of outrage or upset or approbation or any of those things about somebody else's behavior, it says that I am attached to those things.
Yeah, I see that.
That would be an interesting thing to pay attention to.
Yeah, it would.
So in myself, if I see myself doing that, that may be a sign that I am actually, at that moment, more of the world than in the world.
Yeah.
Now, again, barring damaging to others, damaging to self, setting that kind of stuff aside.
Right.
But where I get judgy, I'm being totally of the world. Totally of the world.
Yeah.
So if I were, I'm sorry, Mrs. Stokes, if I were your mom and I was upset because you were drinking, that would mean I was attached to whether you were drinking or not in a way that has nothing to do with Jesus.
Yeah.
Tricky.
Okay. Tricky.
Very tricky, which is why that whole sense of how we behave in our relationship with God and others, and how our characters are getting formed. Are we more likely to be kind, decent, giving, blah, 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 or is our gut instinct to protect what we have and so forth?
Yep.
That's it. Somebody else can judge me if I have a pattern of behavior that is self-serving or a pattern of behavior that's fearful. Someone could say, you know what, this pattern suggests that you are more attached to the world than you think you are, which I'm sure I am. I feel confident I am, right? But any particular thing is not going to be the proof of that.
Yeah.
And that's why sin is not just particular actions, it is the context in which we live.
It is the state of one's own heart, soul, spirit.
Well, it's also just the context in which we live, because sin is separation from God.
It is.
Right? And we live in a material context, which means we're automatically pushed to be separate from God.
Yeah.
Right? Which is why in and of the world doesn't actually have to do with sin per se.
Right.
It has to do with our attachments. It has to do with what is occupying our minds, what's occupying our spirits. That's what that means.
Fascination. Yeah. Interesting. Listeners, we want to hear from you. How did you experience that verse? Like when you first heard it, be not of the world, even though we're in the world, right? And what do you think of that phrase, of the world? What does that mean to you? We love hearing from you. Cocktailtheology.com is where we are. Give us ideas for conversations, for cocktails, because, we do drink around here. And, if you consider that a worldly act, I'm sorry.
It is. It is a worldly act. It does not mean that we are attached to the world.
It does not mean we're attached to the world. That's right. Till next time, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Funny how the view can change, how life just seems to rearrange itself, no matter what it was. I don't know how it goes, but look, moving on feels pretty good. Moving on feels pretty good.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and hit subscribe wherever you're listening right now. We welcome your comments, questions, and ideas for conversations and for cocktails. Please get in touch with us at our website, cocktailtheology.com. Cocktail Theology is a production of SFS. Our theme song is Moving On Feels Pretty Good, recorded by yours truly, Benton Stokes. You can find my music wherever you stream your favorite artists. Join us next Thursday for another new episode.